Hello and welcome.
This is Gertie.
I'm Gertie and this is Ella.
I'm Ella. And this is our channel. Again!
We're doing it again!
We're back! That's crazy. This is our second video.
Second video, guys. It's gonna be even better than the first one.
Yeah. Gotta say, happy PMDD Awareness Month. Because last time
yes,
we made a video...
I knew that. I'm a great uterus owner who also has PMDD. We are going to be talking to you guys about our journeys to getting diagnosed, which is a crazy topic to be talking about. Yeah, this is, for the first couple videos are definitely going to be, more foundation pieces to, get this going.
And after we have our foundation, we can, narrow in on
specific things.
Yeah, exactly.
We already have, so many ideas and so many things we want to do, but, this is where we started. This is how we got here, so let's get into it, I guess. Ella's gonna go first because she's the one who got diagnosed first. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, right off the bat, I'm gonna be honest, didn't have a good school education surrounding sexual health, but specifically surrounding menstruation. I didn't know what PMS was until I was in grade 11, so I guess 17. That's so late.
Yeah. That's
crazy. Sorry. Sometimes I think about it and it's
bad
insane.
news.
But yeah, didn't know what PMS was. I had a lot of friends in high school say oh my god, my period is so bad. My period is so bad. It sucks. It's awful. Isn't it the worst time ever? And I didn't relate, and I was always my period's the best day. When I start to bleed, party time, it's great. I feel great. I don't get grumpy. I'm almost happier than I used to be. And that's because I was sad the 2 weeks leading up, severely distressed the 2 weeks leading up. And then obviously, for me, when I started to bleed, that would all go away. So I never really caught on to that until first year university. I was living away from home in Nova Scotia, across the country, so that was a big change. Communal living with a whole bunch of 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know the vibe.
It's intense.
I had some dramatic friendship things happen. I had my Nana pass away on a more serious note, and we were really close in January. I just, and then doing school on top of that, I had a lot of stuff that was changing and going on, and I wasn't home for that when that happened, when she passed, and that was really hard. And then COVID hit in March. So then I kind of entered into a summer of just living with my parents, breaking down, not understanding why, and it was significantly worse than it was in previous years. I'd say it started in grade 11 and got worse and worse. And it got to that point that my own dad was oh, I know that you're about to start your period soon because I can tell based on your mood and how dramatic that is. And that's a big red flag.
Red flag, yeah.
If your own father understands your cycle.
If your father's seems like you're ovulating right about now. Not normal. Not normal.
Not normal. But that's when it got really bad. So I started having just super volatile fights with my parents, and normally we get along super well. And I'm an only child, so it's just me and them in the house together. So I'm their focus. I'm their only kid, and so they were very concerned about me. But it would just be fights with my mom that were just beating around a bush, not getting anywhere, just chaotic. And I would threaten crazy things that I would never normally say to her. Just super not me, if that makes sense. Obviously it makes sense. I wasn't myself. You get it. And then went to school to do school online in August. Moved back to Nova Scotia. And then, a week after I left, my house burned down in BC. So my parents were fine, my dog was fine, but we lost everything. So that was really a trauma trigger for me, because then throughout the fall, my PMDD went from being really volatile and irritable and angering, to being just depressive. It was a depressive state. I would cry for hours in my room. I couldn't see, like, the good in anything.
Yeah.
I was doing school online. It was a bad time. It was really hard. And then that's kind of when I was just like, I can't keep doing this. Like, you're lashing out, you're self-sabotaging, you're causing arguments because, you know, that person inside you wants to cause them.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, you're just feeling awful about it. You're like, oh my God. So it's going from, like, like, anger to, like, I'm a terrible person.
I remember, like, for me, like, starting to date was really hard because of...
Oh, yeah.
I always was like, I'm awful, and nobody but my family could ever love me.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That also was happening that fall, was, like, me and my friends were trying to... We got, like, dating apps, and we were trying things out, and we... Because, like, it was COVID, and there was nothing to do. No parties to go to meet people, and... I eventually did meet my boyfriend on, like, a dating app, but, yeah, I was trying things out and they weren't working, and then I was like, oh my God, it's because I'm unlovable, like, you know, and my house burned down, I have nothing, oh God, you know?
Yes.
So then, that was up until the point I decided to call the doctor, but, you know, got diagnosed eventually, so.
Yeah. I
want to hear about yours.
Oh, but... thank you. Okay, so... for me, I had always subconsciously known that it was hormone related. Again, like Ella said, I was very aware. Like, I have a very specific recollection of the very first time I had, like, PMS, which was the day before my very first period. I had a total 6-hour sobbing. It was the first time this had ever really happened. And it was over, I really wanted a Taylor Swift perfume.
God, you gotta have that.
I know. And I was just like, I can't figure out, like, how I'm gonna get this. And yeah, it just spiraled, and then I got my period the next day.
Can I interject?
Yes.
Can I ask what perfume it was?
I literally have it in my memory box. But this is the Taylor Swift Incredible Things. Safe to say that my hours of crying paid off. Yes, so I, like, looking back, knowing what was going on, it was very easy to track, like, from the beginning. That being said, I have been in therapy since I was 14. I've always been, like, since puberty, always have been struggling with my mental health, whether that's talking to my therapist about the possibility of, you know, bipolar or BPD, and none of it just seems to really add up. There's, like, no real... Like, it's not ever right. Yeah, and I always thought it was childhood trauma. I mean, looking back, like, trauma triggers are a big thing. I was going to therapy thinking, you know, man, my parents really fucked me up. What's going on? But the experience that ultimately led to me getting diagnosed was when I was 18, I think, or 19. I decided that I wanted to get an IUD, and I went in to see a nurse practitioner, and I told her, obviously going back to, like, I subconsciously knew it was hormonal, because I basically said, like, I really want an IUD. I know that hormones are just not what's right for me. I'm not interested in trying them. Like, I just don't think that that's going to be a right fit. And she reassured me that the hormones were localized and that it doesn't affect women in the way that I thought it was going to affect me. And prescribed me, you know, this hormonal IUD. And, I basically just had, like, crazy intense PMDD symptoms amplified, and there was no breaks for 6 months. And, like, it got to the point where I was, like, it got really, really bad, and I was calling multiple doctors and basically essentially begging for them to take it out of me. I was hesitant. I didn't know for sure if it was the IUD, because I would beg these doctors and they'd be like, no, IUDs don't do that. You just need to wait it out. Like, it's going to go away. Like, you need to wait it out. And I waited 6 months. And it took my dad basically calling every day and being like, if you don't take this out, like, unfortunately, like, my daughter is close to killing herself or whatever.
Like, you get to that point where you're just,
you just, like, can't take it anymore.
Can't take it. Yeah.
And with no break, like, I mean, it's really hard to not get to that point regularly, but with no break for 6 months and, like, amplified symptoms, it was really unbearable, and I couldn't take it. I ended up getting it taken out, and all of my symptoms went away, and I called every single one of those doctors and was like, you said this wasn't the issue, but it was, and I don't get it. And then my mom came to me and was like, you know, that really wasn't a normal reaction to an IUD, and it really makes me think that you have this thing. And I kind of, like, thought about that, but then thought, like, oh, well, my IUD's out now, I'm, like, way better, and kind of went on living my life for another year until I got my job, which, you know, like, is a lot more stress and, like, is really intense, and because of the stress and the pressure that I was under, and there was a lot of other things going on in my life at the time, that my symptoms just got worse, and I decided that it was time to talk to a doctor and maybe get treatment. And that's ultimately when I got diagnosed.
It's a good point to bring up, is, like, a lot of the time people, and I've heard this from, like, different peer support groups that I've been on to, a lot of people say that it's their family members who bring it up.
Yeah, and it was like you said, my parents knew when I was going to get my period, when I was ovulating, when all this stuff, because of it's intense, and especially when you're a family member and you're in such close quarters, like, it's yeah.
And it's hard because, like, as menstruating people, we're so conditioned to, like, make it clear that our periods don't affect us and that they're not excuses.
To brush it under the rug.
Brush it under the rug, and it's a normal thing, and we have to live with it. And if you're complaining about it, you're not a team player. But for people who have this, like, it's impossible.
Especially in school and with friends, it would be like I wouldn't let that side of me show, which was difficult.
Yeah, and, like, I'd have, again, like, arguments, or I would get really irrational and upset about something, and, you know, my dad would just be like, oh, she's getting her period soon, kind of thing.
I'd get so pissed when my dad would say
that.
Like,
oh my god, Dad, like, that's not
you
what this
can't
is.
say that. This is whatever. I would get, like, furious, being like,
and
you're part of the problem.
Right.
He's absolutely right.
Like,
every time I'd get my period, and I'd be like, I'm not fucking telling him that this just happened. Yeah.
And then my mom would be like, Ella, I know you're upset, but, like, what time of the month is it? And then I just break down and I'm like, it's a week before, you know, like.
I got diagnosed after getting, like, I was already in my relationship, and, like, the IUD happened while I was in my relationship as well, and then there was the year after the IUD until getting diagnosed. And at that point, my mom had brought up that PMDD was on the table, and that she like, thought that I had this, and so I mentally was kind of more aware of, like, my cycle and what time of the month it was. And I remember, like, you know, of course, it's always been this way. You know, I was ovulating one time, and I was breaking down, and I was like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm so grumpy, and I'm so whatever, like, I'm ovulating right now to my boyfriend. He was like, you know, you can't blame everything on your cycle. And, like, obviously he does not stand by that now, and he had no idea, like, what it was that we were really looking at.
Not the case.
Yeah, because
right?
I understand where he's coming from. A period is something that, you know, every menstruating person has, and it's something that you have to live with.
Right.
And it can't, like, absolutely shut down the function of your life. But unfortunately, for people that are living with PMDD, that is the reality we're looking at.
What it is.
It literally is the definition, basically. So, yeah, there's a lot of invalidation that goes on before, but also I found even more after you get diagnosed. But that is a topic for another day.
It is, and, like, I mean, we'll get into how that affects different relationships and friendships, and I've said this in the other video.
Yeah.
But we'll get into all that.
Yeah.
Mommy.
You smell like rat and molasses.
Aww. Check-in.
Yeah.
Personal check-in.
Personal check-in.
Oh my god, the last few days for both of us have been insane.
Maybe we should do personal check-ins at the end of every video.
I feel like we should. Because we may look like we have it together.
Oh.
I don't think I do today. But we may look like we have it together. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm so annoyed with
that
everyone.
breakdown this morning. Just barely got here on time. Well, didn't, but you know what I mean.
Like I had a total huge like blowout with my roommates, but we're here, and that is part of this journey.
We're here. I don't know what was happening with me.
We're doing okay.
Oh, I actually do know. I do know. Ovulation. Part okay.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for watching.
We really appreciate the little bits of support that we've received. It's been so exciting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We got this beautiful, super kind comment.
It was
on
so
our last
nice.
post, and it's really like motivated us to keep doing this. So
we didn't know anybody was gonna watch or see it, or even like one person was gonna think like this was helpful in any way. And it's honestly like, we both know how lonely this can be, and for to have someone, like even one person see it and like appreciate it is really nice. I'm gonna start crying.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We hope this helped, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
No, because this was a big